Hello everyone and welcome to another video in our American Ninja series, which this time looks at American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt. I mentioned in the previous videos that the second title in the series was my favourite. I was prepared to change my opinion if I thought American Ninja 3 would be better, but to be honest, I don't feel it quite followed up the magic as seen in number 2. I found it boring during the second act. Things do improve as it gets towards the end of the movie, but I'll share more about my disappointment in my final thoughts. Please don't take any of the comedy as personal swipes against the actors or people involved with the franchise. I do enjoy these movies despite my eccentric humour and commentary. So, the filming happens again in South Africa, which can be heard by some of the accents during the movie. Not quite as notable as in American Ninja 2 and Part 4, this would be the first introduction of a new American Ninja, played by David Bradley, who would go on to star in very solid martial arts action movies such as American Samurai with Mark Dacascos. Dudikoff would return in American Ninja 4, but it would sadly be the last movie for Steve James, whom according to research didn't want to do any more American Ninja movies to avoid being typecast as a martial arts actor. So the plot's pretty straightforward. The Cobra, played by Marjo Gortner, I've probably totally butchered the pronunciations there, but anyway, he holds a tournament to attract the best martial arts fighters for his germ warfare experiments. David Bradley plays an infected ninja who fights against the Cobra with the help of his allies. The ninja in American Ninja 3 are pretty much a private army of clones, and the ninja sensei this time is played by Michelle B. Chan, so we see a female ninja sensei, and she uses mind manipulation to lure the American ninja Sean into a trap. The plot was penned by veteran actor Gary Conway. He was the uber villain from American Ninja 2 if you remember. So something that I focused on in the other American Ninja videos is the score and soundtrack. And how does the music compare this time with American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt? Well, it was composed by George S. Clinton, and he went on to have a very solid list of film credentials, including the original Mortal Kombat movies, Assassin's Creed miniseries, and all 3 Austin Power movies. With that said, the soundtrack is one of my least favourite parts of the movie. I'm not sure who else was involved with the score. I did an extensive search and I could only find George S. Clinton as the composer, but from what I can hear on the soundtrack, there definitely is a guy playing the guitar solos. Some people may not be bothered about the soundtrack, it does come down to personal taste I guess, but the constant piano keys which frequent the film do start to get grating. The guitar solos are okay, it's standard 80s style, it's not full on thrash or power metal or anything of that nature. I think whoever played the guitar solo is still playing now all these years later. Don't get me wrong folks, I'm not hating on metal at all. I love my heavy metal music, I'm an extreme metalhead myself, and the name of the channel itself reflects this, MOSH SHINOBI. However, with all that said, I do feel the introduction to the movie, the score in that particular sequence is good. It helps set up the tension and high stakes. There are portions of the film where that music does return and it adds a nice level of mystery and tone. Kinda late 80s to mid 90s vibe I guess, but American Ninja 3, I believe it dropped in 1989, so it is pretty much right next door to the start of the 90s. There's even a section, I believe, in the early part of the movie where some of the score from American Ninja 2 is recycled. In particular, I'm referring to that scene where the plane lands in American Ninja 2 and they've got kind of like the Caribbean music. Well, that returns in American Ninja 3 only briefly. So, what's the acting like in American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt? It isn't terrible, it's just standard for an action movie. Steve James, in my opinion, once again, is one of the standouts in the entire movie. David Bradley isn't bad either, making his debut as the American Ninja. And then, apologies, I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name again, but the Cobra, played by Marjo Gortner, is the next most memorable actor in my opinion. So this brings us to the action and martial arts. How do they compare to the previous 2 entries in the American Ninja franchise? Well, Sean, the new American Ninja, and Curtis Jackson, Steve James, they overall have the best scenes with some decent fights for the most part. There's a good scene in a port area, which is definitely one of the standout action sequences. and I'd say the ninjas in American Ninja 3 are a little more capable than the previous entries, even though Blood Hunt isn't my favourite out of all of the movies. So what is the comedy like in American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt compared to the first two entries? There is a little. In my opinion, Chapter 3 feels to have more of a serious and darker tone compared to the original two. Not to say it's completely devoid of any hilarity, whether intentional or unintentional, such as Steve James enjoying another drawn out fight in the final act. It's against a ninja and he once again shouts at his opponent, to stay down, but this time it's changed to die. It's really reminiscent of the scene he has in American Ninja 2, so that was very amusing. Memorable moments. This is going to feature the good and the bad. The ninja training camp, it's pretty much like the previous two American Ninja series. Kata-like sequences, basic attacks, basic blocks. That's pretty much what it is. The female ninja sensei, as I mentioned earlier, played by Michelle B. Chan, she has to have some of the most lethargic fight scenes in the entire series. It lacks conviction, it lacks effort, and it doesn't really portray with any authenticity as a ninja sensei. I mean, for example, during these ninja camp demonstrations, the head sensei always enters the arena and takes on a group of ninjas to demonstrate their lethality. It doesn't come across to the viewer with any sense that this is somebody very dangerous and capable. If you've seen any of the other American Ninja movies, you will know exactly what I'm referring to, and it just didn't cut it this time. Another guy who provides unintentional comedic relief is Pompous General Man, played by Yehuda Efroni, an actor from Tel Aviv who sadly passed away a few years ago. Anyway, his character's very over the top, and he's just the minor villain compared to the Cobra played by Marjo Gortner. Imagine another dude that likes to stick his chest out a lot like a pigeon on a mating call strutting around a park. That's pretty much General Atreus. Then the other memorable moment, I guess, and not for excellent reasons, would be Evan J. Clisser as Dexter. This is no slight on the actor at all, but the character he is playing in Blood Hunt is so irritating. He has the combat skill of a kettle. In fact, an angry steaming kettle would probably be better. I just can't take it seriously when this guy is supposed to be dropping ninjas and he looks like he can barely fight. Not based on appearance at all, folks, just on how he moves. Thankfully, he does go out of the movie in the final act. It's during the scene when Sean catches some arrows from the ninjas. Then he throws them back at them. So when Dexter makes his exit from the movie, to quote The Rock from WWE, I said out loud, "Finally!" I just feel Dexter was there to provide the comedic relief, but it just didn't work. It just fell completely flat. So this brings us to my overall thoughts. American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt isn't the worst movie ever. It's not the best in the series. The fun factor isn't too prevalent. It is a bit of a rerun of American Ninja 2 in some sections. Tries to go down a more serious, darker path, which didn't quite work. David Bradley brought some very good martial arts skills. Steve James is still one of the standout actors in American Ninja 3, and it's incredibly sad that we lost him a few years later, so peace and blessings to Steve and his family. My dad was always a huge Steve James fan, but more on that in the forthcoming American Ninja Legacy video, which will drop in the near future. It really would have been great seeing James with both Dudikoff and Bradley in another American Ninja movie. In conclusion, American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt is certainly a dividing entry in the series. Some people really like it, others are like myself find it a little boring and just okay. Just to repeat some earlier sentiments, it just seems to lack some of the magic that American Ninja 2 possesses. I would like to thank you all for watching. I shall see you in the next video, which will be American Ninja 4 Annihilation, starring Michael Dudikoff and David Bradley teaming together, so that should be an exciting entry to cover. See you soon everybody, and take care.